What's up, everybody? Welcome to today's conversation. And this one's not just about hunting, it's about purpose, it's about building something from scratch. It's about redefining the way you live your life on your terms. And I'm joined by a good friend. I got co-founder of Tethrd, Greg Godfrey. Greg, welcome back to the show, man.
Yeah, awesome to be here, Jeremy. One of my favorite podcasts. We hadn't caught up in a while, so it's time to catch up, and we'll just catch up live for
Yeah.
everybody. It'll be fun.
For who knows what rabbit hole we could go down, Greg. Man, we were just saying the one aspect I love about social media is the being able to connect and stay connected with people, even though you're not speaking to them over the phone or hanging out with them. So you have that ability to see what people are doing, obviously. And we're still old school. We still are Facebook friends and obviously through text message and everything along those lines. But I liked what you did this past spring when you were like, April did not suck, and you just like dump a bunch of awesome things you did in April, from going down to iguanas and all that iguanas and all that type of stuff. It was just so cool to see the things you did, and then what an amazing turkey spring you had with your dad. Just quickly, I guess, what did you do if no one knows?
Yeah, my dad and I did the single season Wild Turkey World Slam, and I'll give you guys the Cliff Notes version of it. So you have a few different slams in turkey hunting. The one that most people think about is the Grand Slam, and that is the 4 U.S. birds: the Osceola, the Eastern, the Merriam's, and the Rio. And killing your Grand Slam of turkeys is a big deal in turkey world, and most people take several seasons. Like, most people will go and they'll get like one a year, or maybe if they live in close to 2, maybe you can get 1 or 2 a year. And then people that are really fortunate get to do all 4 in a year. And the single season Grand Slam is pretty dang cool. I mean, getting to travel to 4 different states minimum to kill turkey is something that most hunters just don't have an opportunity to do. So that's the Grand Slam. And then you have a couple other versions of that. And then you have the Royal Slam, which adds in the Gould's turkey from Mexico, which is just south of the border. There is a small population of Gould's turkeys in the U.S. I think in New Mexico or Arizona. I think there's a small population of them, but I think it's really hard to get a tag. I don't really know too much about it. I think most people go to Mexico to get their Royal Slam. And then you can add the Mount Everest, if it were, of turkey hunting, and that's the World Slam, which is the 4 birds in the U.S., the Goulds for the Royal Slam, and then you add in the ocellated bird turkey, which is like a hybrid between a peacock and a regular turkey. It doesn't really look like a regular turkey. They don't gobble like a regular turkey. They don't strut around. They're kind of a different bird. So I like to describe them as a hybrid between a peacock and a turkey. But you get that one, and that is the World Slam, all 6 birds. So my dad and I did it in 1 year, like a couple of idiots. We spent April and May pretty much just cruising around the country and around the world even, and we got all 6 birds together. We hunted together, all 6 birds each, and we did it in 1 season. And one of the highlights of the trip, other than getting to spend 6 weeks, essentially, it wasn't really 6 weeks. Most of the hunts ended up being like 3 days long, except for the ones in Mexico where you kind of have to go for a week-ish. But we got robbed by a bunch of Mexican ranchers on a Mennonite farm in the Yucatan Peninsula.
Gosh, like up to explain this one.
It was insane. So we were hunting on this Mennonite farm in Mexico for the ocellated bird. We were just north of Guatemala. We don't speak Spanish, my dad and I, and we had 2 guides. They don't speak English, and this was an outfitted hunt. It's pretty much the only way you can do it for these birds. You go with an outfitter. So we're hunting this Mennonite farm. It was like 150,000 acres, this giant community. You go in there in the dark, and we don't know where we are. We're 45 minutes out. Well, no, we were longer than that. We were about almost 90 minutes from our lodge. So you leave it. We left at 3:30 in the morning. We drive to this Mennonite farm. We take all these farm roads to get back to the back of this huge piece of ground. You have no cell phone. There's no service, so it doesn't work. We don't speak Spanish, so we can't communicate and we don't have any connection to the outside world. So we do the hunt. We didn't kill a bird. We're coming out, and this truck rolls up on us with 6 ranchers in it, and they're hot. They're pissed. We know immediately that this isn't a good situation. They stop our truck. They flag us down. We can't talk to our guides. It's me and my dad. My dad's in the front seat. He's almost 70. He's like 67, I think, 68. And I'm in the back, and we got 2 young Mexican guides beside us and can't talk to them. So these other guys get out of the truck. They end up surrounding our truck, and they're yelling at us in Spanish. All I can really hear are pesos, dollars, and permiso. They're saying, you don't have permission, give us money, essentially, was what it was. So this goes on for a couple minutes. They yell at each other. One of the ranchers, actually, they start opening all the doors. We're outnumbered significantly, and they come across the front passenger seat of my dad, and they get in a fight. He starts fighting with the driver. He's trying to rip the keys out of the ignition so he can't leave. So they do this little fight, pulls the keys out of the ignition. As soon as he does that, the driver, who I can't talk to, gets out of the truck. They like start squaring up like they're about to go to blows, and I'm like, oh my God, this is about to go sideways. Like, this is about to go really, 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 really bad, and I can't talk to anybody, and I don't know where I am. It wasn't a good situation. Keep in mind, I did 10 years active duty. I deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan. So, I mean, I was a communications officer. It's not like I was one of these guys like in the trenches, like getting in firefights all the time. But I've been to war, right? I've been to war twice. Yeah. And this situation was pretty freaking significant. Like they used to say, a significant emotional event in the Army. Long story short, they pull us out of the truck. They yell at us. They want money. They want cash. They want our passports. We don't give anything. They take all of our gear. They take all of our guns. And there was one point when they took all the guns out of the truck. Dad and I had our ammo, our turkey loads in our pockets, so the guns and the ammo were separated just by happenstance. It wasn't like we planned to get robbed or anything. It just happened to work out that way. But they pulled all the guns out. They took all my camera gear. They took everybody's stuff. They pulled it out of the truck. They started going through everything. I'm looking for money maybe. When they went to the guns and they started unzipping the guns from the cases, I was standing there with Dad, and I looked at Dad and I said, Dad, if they take those out, and they start, looking for wet like bullets, I was like, it might get Western here, so just be ready. So that never happened, thank God. Looking back, we probably weren't in that much danger, knowing what I know about the situation, how it actually ended up working out. And they ended up making us follow them out of the community. They yelled at us some more, and then they let us go. So as soon as we got service, about 30 minutes past the Mennonite farm where we were, we called the outfitter, explained what happened. He was so apologetic and whatever, and he was like, I'll make this right. Turns out what happened is they were leasing this ground from the Mennonite community, and they were paying the leader, the elder of the community. Well, he's supposed to filter all this money out to the community and the farmers and all that stuff, and he's supposed to be paying his taxes, some people call them bribes, to the Mexican government, and that wasn't happening either. So this dude was keeping everything. Well, that turns out what the guides told us. So they ended up getting the feds involved, the federales. That guy, he got arrested, and they ended up getting our guns, my camera stuff. They got it all, and they got it all back. So knowing what I know now, we probably weren't in that much physical danger. They wanted money. They were pissed that they weren't getting their cut, and they kind of took it out on us. We were a little unlucky, but it was pretty freaking terrifying in the moment, and there were definitely a few minutes where I was puckered up pretty tight, thinking we were about to have to fight our way out of here. And it was I got robbed on a Mennonite farm in the Yucatan Peninsula, just north of Guatemala. So quite
not a lot of people could say that.
As Ernie would say, it's type 2 fun.
Yeah, exactly. I know. Well, I think the scariest part, obviously, is you're there with your dad, and no one speaks English, right? It's so you're trying, there's no, like you said, that is the one aspect of not being able to communicate and be like, yo, we're just, you know what I mean? You can't, there is no, and there you are. They have one thing in mind, and that's it. So that is a scary situation. But man, I'm glad you're okay. I'm glad your dad's okay. And Did you end up getting your bird a couple days later?
We did. It ended up working out for us because the guides, they felt bad for us, obviously, the outfitters. So we had been driving like 90 minutes away from camp. So it was like 3 a.m., like leaving at 3 o'clock in the morning to get there. And that grates on you. 2:30 wake up.
Oh, that's tough.
It's freaking early, man. And it got old. And so after that, it kind of worked out because they put us like in their little honey holes, like 10 minutes from camp. And we saw birds everywhere. We were like, oh, man,
Yeah.
what the heck? So it ended up working out. Both Dad and I got our birds, our ocellated birds, and then so we were good. See, after the ocellated, we went to Texas for the Rio, and we didn't really have any trouble with any bird. The Osceola was hard in Florida. I shot a Jake in Florida because I only had 3 days to hunt. That was it, and it wasn't an outfitted hunt. We were just hunting, just trying to figure them out. And so I shot a Jake in Florida, and then to finish the hunt, right, we're 5 for 5. The last bird we have to get each is the Miriam's. We scheduled that one at the end because it was just the way it needed to work. So we're in Colorado, and Dad shot a Jake in Colorado because he was so scared. These birds were not gobbling, man. It was over. We were there the last week of the season, last week of May. We never saw a single bird strut. And we covered so much ground. There was no strutting, no gobbling, nothing. I mean, it was like crickets. And so we, on day 2 or 3, we got these 2 lone jakes to gobble twice. And Dad said, if they come in, I'm shooting them. And I was like, all right. So I kept calling, and I moved back, called the jakes right in, 2 of them. They came right up the mountain. He shot them. Game over. Well, it's the last morning. I'm not kidding you. The last morning, this whole slam, I've got 5 out of 6 birds down to the last day. Season goes out the next day. I was even Googling, like, what states are open in June. Because I'm thinking this ain't gonna happen, so I'm gonna have to go to the Dakotas or something and buy another tag and try to get another bird because this is it. Well, that doesn't exist. There are no states in the country that have Miriams that are open in June. That was it. So if I didn't get this bird this morning, game over. And dude, Jeremy, I'm not lying to you. This is God's honest truth. That morning, the last morning, I bet I heard 50 gobbles. There were birds all over me. They were gobbling left and right and behind. I was like, what the heck? They turned on. 10 minutes after legal shooting, 2 gobblers come running into the field where I'm at. I shoot them 10 minutes after legal shooting. Game over. I was like, what the heck? It was, my hunt went from a total 0 to 100. I just, very lucky, very blessed. But I got the Miriams.
Man.
That was the last one. I filmed the whole thing. So I'm going to edit the whole thing. And me, personally, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to edit it all and put this together. And we'll put it out next year during turkey season. So I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, that's
Now I've been
awesome.
talking about this. I don't see a recording clock. 15 minutes. I've been telling this story for 15 minutes. So I apologize to the
No.
dear listeners who just got regaled with boring turkey stories from old.
No, it's fine because one of my best friends, Tim, he had his Grand Slam. He finished it like kind of like what you explained earlier. He had all 3, and he didn't have the his Florida bird. He ended up like getting in on a hunt this past year, not guided, but he ended up getting in on one through a mentorship, like a guide from doing mentoring new hunters here in PA. Basically, the guy was like, I can't go. Do you want it? And he was like, oh, absolutely. That'll finish my Grand Slam. And he thought to his head, if I get this, I want to do the season Grand Slam. So he did that beginning of maybe end of April, maybe I think it was. And then he ended up flying out to Oregon, did Washington, and then obviously came back. But he wanted to not use his PA tag for his Eastern bird. He ended up going up to, I think, Connecticut for it. So he ended up getting it in Connecticut. So he finished his Grand Slam, and we talked a bunch about that and his logistics of traveling and all that type of stuff, which was kind of cool to hear, just because for no one that has maybe flown with a firearm and the procedure of like, all right, yeah, you shot your bird, now what? Like, how do you bring things home? So it was a kind of cool little episode that we did with Tim on that one. So yeah, it's a really cool thing to do. And we're like, oh man, Grand Slam. And then obviously you went out and did the World Slam. It's just, I don't know. I know it's not deer.
Baby.
Yeah.
Well,
you're
and
the
I'm
greatest turkey hunter I know.
with my brother, with Bobby.
Yep.
What Dad and I did was, it was too much for one season. Like two coordinating two people's travel and all, it was a lot, and it was really expensive. And I'm very lucky that I was able to pull it off, because I got a hunting company, and since we can film it, well, now all of a sudden, I don't really have to pay for it. The company can pay for it. So I'm blessed, lucky, fortunate, whatever adjective you want to throw in there for being what I was, to be able to pull this off. But I really did have a good time, and it was type 2 fun. A lot of the hunts felt like work, because you know how when you go on vacation, Jeremy, and you come back the next week, and you got to play catch up from all the stuff that you missed. And so I know that whenever I do that, I usually come back going like, man, I don't even want to go on vacation again, because you come back and you got all this work to do, and you're like, this sucks. Like, I got to catch up. Well, I did that 6 times in the spring. Like, I'd go away for a few days, come home, try to catch up, and then now it's time to go get the Eastern. Now it's time to go get the Rio. And it just was like that for the entire spring. So it was definitely type 2 fun. Not totally awesome in the moment. It was fun when you killed the bird and you got to hug my dad and celebrate and high five and send pictures to your buddies. Like, that part was fun. But the rest of it was really a lot more like work. But I'm a glutton for punishment. So after we finished, I was talking to my brother. I was like, Bobby, we gotta do the Grand Slam, like the single season Grand Slam. That's way easier, like, because you don't have to go to Mexico, right? You can go. The hardest one is in Florida, in my opinion, and Bobby lives in Florida, so it's not. I don't think it would be that hard. So Bobby and I are talking about doing the Grand Slam next year. Public land single season Grand Slam.
Hell yeah. That's awesome. That's so cool.
Turkey season.
Here we go. Greatest between you and Tim, you guys might be the best turkey hunters I know. You're like the new Andy May of turkey hunting.
No, that is not true. I am not a good turkey hunter. You want to talk about turkey hunters, you got to talk about guys like Shane Simpson and Dave Owens. Those guys are real killers. Like, I think Shane hunted more than I did this year. Shane Simpson, and I killed 6 birds and went to 2 countries. I think he hunted 9 or 10 states, and I mean, Shane is an animal. I think he was gone for like 40 days straight.
Shane, I like Shane. Shane's a good dude.
Shane's a good dude, but that's a lot of work for turkey season.
All right, Greg. We'll pivot. This will be a good opportunity now for us to pivot. So you mentioned, obviously when you were getting robbed and everything, and you've been to over for war twice in Iraq and everything like that. So I wanted to talk a little bit about your military chapter, just because you fascinate me from many different perspectives, and I mean that in a positive way, just because when people have seen you online, and if I work an outdoor show and they're like, where's Greg, they want to meet you, and it's so awesome. And I remember being in that world too, and the first time we ever interacted person to person was when I came to ATA that first time, when Carl asked me. We did like a little, I guess you guys did a little contest of like who represents Tethrd, and I was very fortunate enough, and that was a great opportunity for me. One, just because of how I show my passion that I have for saddle hunting and for Tethrd, but also it was a great opportunity for me to meet you and meet Ernie, because I met Carl already prior to that. But with that, I've learned so much through you, just the way you handle, conduct, and always learning and trying different things. I really like your perspective on a lot of things. So I feel like, obviously, of knowing you and hearing you on other episodes, of knowing how much the military has helped guide that. So like in your decade with the Army, like, that I'm sure it's taught you structure, adaptability, grit. How did you take those characteristics and like transform that into Tethrd? You know what I mean? The whole being able to adapt to certain things, being able to persevere through the challenges, and be able to create something like Tethrd. Like, so what did you learn from the Army that helped you build what Tethrd is today?
That's a great question. And I would say it's not any one thing. It's the military is really good. I have 2 kids. They're both in college, and I would be ecstatic if both of them came out of college and went into the military. Not necessarily for a career. That's fine. If they wanted to do 20 years in the Army, Air Force, Navy, Marines. No, Navy doesn't really count. Just kidding, Navy guys. But if they did, I'd be ecstatic, because I think the military, it teaches you a lot of things. It teaches you to endure hard situations. It teaches you that life can always be worse. It gives you good perspective. I think the most important thing I took out of my military service was what was a word that you used when you were being so kind and talking about me and saying those nice lies about me, about how awesome I am. Those were very thoughtful and kind. The most important one I think that you listed was grit. There's a book written by Angela Duckworth. It's one of my favorite books. It's called Grit. And what she did is she followed a group of West Point cadets through their time at West Point and then afterwards and a bunch of other stuff, but that's the gist of it. And she came out at the end of the book and she determined that the number one factor in success for these West Point cadets in life, and then she turned that into life in general, was this term that she called grit. And she spent an entire book trying to explain what grit is. And it's a term that's hard to define, but at the end of the day, it's like gritty people, they figure out a way to get it done, even when it might not make sense, or it's too hard, or other people don't think it's a good idea, or, insert a lot of different adjectives and descriptors in there. But a gritty person, we all know gritty people, and it's harder to define than it is to like point at someone and go, he's gritty, or she's gritty, like she gets it done. We've all met people like that in our lives. And, I think grit is the number one most important thing. And I think I learned a lot of that in the Army, because you're just faced with a lot of things that suck. Like, your training sucks. It's not fun. You're not treated good. It teaches you to be kind of hard. It teaches you you learn to adapt and overcome. You learn to embrace the suck. Like, there's just so much about the military that sucks that when you go through it, you're kind of like, all right, well, I did that, and that didn't, I made it through. Or I'll tell one military story that is not even that, it's not even that significant of a story, but for me in my own personal life, it's something that really helped me become a gritty person. So in OCS, I went through officer candidacy school. It was with 120 other guys and girls, and you compete the entire way through for your job. There's what's called an OML, an Order of Merit list. Every physical event you do, every classroom exercise you do, every leadership training you do, you're graded, and everybody gets points. And it goes into this list, and you just keep stacking points. And the better you do at physical events and leadership events and school events and all those things, the better you do, the higher you rank. And then you literally at the midpoint of the course, you sit down as a group, 120 of you, and you're ranked from 1 to 120. And there is literally a table up front with 120 jobs. Some of them are awesome, some of them suck balls. And so the better you do in this class and all these things, the higher you are, the more likely you're going to get to pick a job that's going to be your job for the next 4 years. So it really matters. And there was an event. I've never been a good runner. I can meet the standards. I'm not fast, whatever. But there was an event, a 5-mile timed run, which is a long way for most people, and even for me. Like, that's a long way. I'd probably only run 5 miles a few times in my entire life, right? Like, it's not something I enjoy doing. But it was a timed run. It went into the OML, and if you finished under 7 minutes per mile, you got 100 bonus points. And I was like, man, I'm not the most physically gifted guy out here. I'm 5'6", 5'7" on a good day, 140 pounds at that time. Like, I was not this physical specimen, so I needed the points. And I couldn't do it. I'd never run miles that fast ever. But there was this dude in class that he was really good. I don't remember his name, but he was really fast and really good. And I knew that, and he was kind of lazy. Mm-hmm. So I knew that he would do just enough to get it there because he could run a 7-minute mile in his sleep. So I knew this guy was going to do it, and I knew if I just followed him, he would take me there. And so that's what I did. For 5 miles, I stared at his ass for 5 miles. That's what I did. I put in my mind, I said, don't let his butt get out of your vision. That was the only thing I thought for 5 miles. So 5 times 7 is 35 minutes. So for 34 minutes, I just stared at this dude's butt and ran after him and didn't let him get more than, 20 yards in front of me. And when I got to the end, I was like, man, I did it. Like I'm kind of here. And then the last 100 yards, I was like, I'm gonna beat this dude. And so I turned my little Smurf legs on full speed, and I just started trucking, and I passed this guy with like 10 yards left, and I finished in front of him. He had no clue that I was there. He didn't know that I was competing with him. Like, he had no clue. He was oblivious. But when I passed him, me personally, that was it was big for me. And it was something that was like, man, that's what grit is. It's like deciding you're going to do something, and then even if it's hard, if you don't think you can do it, you like get a plan, you work your plan, and then you just execute. And I think that is what makes people successful in the long run, is the ability to do that. Not everybody can do it. Not everybody can do it. Not everybody has a mindset where they can force themselves to do things that are hard. So I think that's what grit means, and I think that is a silly, insignificant story to everyone else on the planet except for me. It meant a lot to me, and I think it's an important skill that people need to embrace. Doing
Yeah,
hard things and doing them
yep.
the best you can.
I agree. And I think, that grit and having that mindset, and you said there that word mindset at the end of that story too. And that's the other piece. It's, you need that mindset of knowing how to execute things. And like you said, coming up with the plan, because I teach that, right. And it's so funny because as a teacher, and you're trying to teach that to a 16-year-old individual, I mean, I could only imagine what I would probably think at that point in time in my life, having some guy up there just being like, "You're gonna, the world." I don't. I mean, I'm exaggerating. I'm like, man, this world right now, like, we need tough people. We need it. And you're up there. I'm up there saying this type of stuff, and it's probably like, man, shut up. But it's cool though to hear my seniors. I had the opportunity to explain something, and I told them. It's my one class. It's my personal training class, and there was 21 individuals. They're great students, some of the best students I've ever had as far as collectively as a class in a long time, in a very long time, Greg. And it was cool because I said, I usually give this specific class, like a dad talk towards the end of the year, right before they graduate. And I kind of I honestly, I go off of my emotion, my right from the heart. I don't have anything planned other than knowing that I just tell them that sometimes your life is going to get hard, but it's okay. And you just got to, persevere and be gritty is kind of the message, to be honest with you. And it's funny. And I say, I'll tell you my story here for only a few minutes. And I'm only telling this because I want you to see that you can do hard things, right? That and it's about the way you look at it and persevere. I said, this isn't a toot my own horn thing, right? I said, this is not that. I'm just showing you that, life is going to give you a lot of lemons, and it's going to continue. You might have 7, 10 bad things go wrong for you right in a row, and you are thinking your back is up against the wall and nothing's going to happen. But it's that 11th time, right? It's that 8th time or whatever it is, that once you figure it out and you push through, you could do hard things. And it was really cool because this year, in a long time, like, just past classes would be like, hey, thanks, Dins, all that type of stuff. And our last day together, a few of them individually, like quietly came up to me and they just said, I'm going to remember what you said, Dins. And it's just like, kind of like, I was like, okay, that's why I like doing what I do. You know what I mean? Like, that was the moment where I felt like there was a great connection. If I only hit one of the 20 individuals, like, hopefully that would work out great. But a couple of them did. And like, again, not in front of each other. They kind of like came slyly by me, like, Dins, thank you, and I'm going to remember what you said. And that touched me. That was the point. It was the show, like, go be gritty and go do hard things because you're capable. And then the other message is always believe in yourself when you think no one else does. Just because that's the other piece. I think a lot of people don't give themselves a lot of credit and think they could do hard things. And that's where that mindset, I think, is where that needs changed, basically.
I love it.
Yeah.
And I think you're hitting on something that's really important. You can't force people to get better.
Yeah.
It's the old cliche, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink kind of thing, right? It's like you can put these concepts, ideas, advice, wisdom, whatever it is you want to call that, to be gritty and to persevere and to do hard things. But ultimately, people have to decide for themselves. And you know, everybody's on their own timeline. And sometimes they're in a position, let's see, these high school seniors that you're dealing with, some of them are going through hard things at home. And some of them are going through hard things in their own personal lives. And that message from Coach Dens, like, hits home. Like, right? It's the right place at the right time, and they're in the right frame of mind to hear it, because not everybody's ready. And, you know, there was a time in my life where if I had to run 5 miles, I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have been able to do it. And when it was the right place and the right time, then it mattered. And I think that's kind of how life works. Like, you have a place and a time where you're ready to hear these types of these lessons, life lessons from people who've been there before you. And if you can somehow internalize it, whether you get it from Coach Dens or you get it from your favorite book called Grit, or if you get it from a pastor or a teacher or a relative, like, at some point you have to be the kind of person that can hear this wisdom and advice and be able to internalize it and use it and plug it into your life. And I think really that's the secret to success, is learning from other people and internalizing it. Wherever you get that wisdom, it comes in a lot of different ways.
Right. Let me ask you this question, Greg, about, you know, starting Tethrd and doing everything. Like, what was the hardest part of turning that idea into a business? Like
finding someone that believed in the vision that I was sending out there. Like, I knew what I wanted. Well, most people don't know that I pitched the idea. I pitched Tethrd to Hawk Hunting before Tethrd. Hawk, like Hawk Tree Stands, like the big major company, Hawk. Yeah, I flew up to Michigan, pitched them this idea of a saddle hunting brand, of a one-stop saddle hunting shop, and they didn't see it. They didn't get it. So they turned me down. And then I found Ernie Power. He got it. And he understood what and his wife Val, they understood what they saw what I was seeing. Like, they believed the vision that I was pitching them. And the hardest part is finding people that believe in what you're doing and want to help, because you can't do it alone. It's like really hard to do something on your own. I think you have to be an exceptional person to be able to pull something off like that. And I'm not an exceptional person. I'm a very average person. So I had to find people to help me. So for me, it was definitely finding people that believed in what I believed in. And then, you know, part of it was that I was decent at communicating, and I was able to help them kind of lead them down that path. But ultimately, you need help. You need people that can be your teammates. Way
That's
easier
huge.
with a team than it is by yourself.
Yeah. And I think the one aspect that I caught on very early with being surrounded by the Tether family, like, and I'm speaking of everybody, right? And I saw it I remember coming home, I did a teach and train tour event in Philadelphia area, and that's the one that Carl came up to. And so this was like year one of those teach and train tour events. And I remember when Carl pulled out, and I talked to my dad, and I was just so excited and everything along those lines of like, it went really well. There was a bunch of people there. I got to show my passion of educating people about saddle hunting. And I was new to saddle hunting. Like, that's the other aspect of things. Like, I just went like balls deep. like once I've tried it and I loved it, and it just became an obsession for me. And I wanted to educate people. Like, I wanted to be, because that allowed me to try to be better. Right. That was the aspect about it. Like, doing this more, doing it in front of people made me, guess what? I get to go climb a tree and show people how to hunt out of this. And it was just awesome. And the Tethrd message was just something I was able to relate to. So like with that, I noticed very early on, I'm like, man, this is just bigger than gear. You know what I mean? So like, did you ever have a moment like where you thought, or was it the beginning? And that's where the pitch came from, where you're like, this is bigger than just gear and we could change hunting. Because like now we have the saber saw coming out, right? It's just more than just something that you wear up in the tree, right? So did you ever have that moment where you thought, man, this is a lot bigger than just gear?
Yeah, I knew it from the beginning. I knew that if we built what was in my head and then other people's heads, right, as they kind of like join the vision, I don't want to make it seem like I did this, because that's not what I'm saying. I had this vision in my head, and then I was able to bring in team members and and help them catch the vision. And then once they caught the vision, then we all plugged in our own collective talents and skill set to make the vision work, because I wasn't talented enough, smart enough, capable enough to do it on my own. But I knew what I wanted. I didn't have the skill set to get it there. So I needed people like Jared Schaefer to help with video and photography, and we needed Taylor Chamberlain to do connections, and we needed Carl to make the stuff, and Ernie to like actually make it, get it built and ship it. And so all these people that brought in these different talents. But yeah, man, I never saw Tethrd as a paycheck. For those that know me, Denz, you know me a little bit, like I'm not really driven by profit as much. I mean, it's cool. I like that we're making profit, because then it means that me and Dad get to go on a turkey world slam, because that's cool. That's a great benefit. But it doesn't really matter in the long run. I'm like, who cares how many zeros are in your bank account, if your kids don't like you? Like, what does it matter if you have a Lamborghini if you don't have anybody to sit in the passenger seat with you? Like, who cares if you can go on a moose hunt in the Yukon if you don't have a hunting buddy that's going to help you pack it out? Like, it doesn't really matter in the long run how much money you have. Tethrd was never about money for any of us. I mean, it never was. It still isn't. And some of the discussions we have today behind the scenes, behind closed doors, revolve around that. How do we make sure that we don't put profit over people? It's just how it is. And so I don't mean to sound magnanimous or anything like that. It's not the point. But the question you asked was, did you see something bigger than just gear? And that is what we saw. We really wanted to make hunters, make them have more fun. Make it suck less. Like carrying climbers and big heavy tree stands and not finding the tree that you want. And like, it sucked. I didn't like it. And I wanted to help other people like it more. It was really as simple as that. And I knew that if we did a good enough job, that we could then do this for a living, and I wouldn't have to report to anybody else or sit in a cubicle or do things that I didn't want to do anymore. I knew that if we did it the right way, and we followed people over profit, I knew it would work. Not because I'm a smart guy, but because I've read a whole lot of books and I've learned from a whole lot of people, and they all said that. Everyone said that. Like, go read a book about how to build a business or how to be as successful in relationships or something, and find one person who's been successful that will say, always follow the profit. Nobody says that. Nobody. So it's like, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just kind of listen. Like, okay, all these really smart, successful people are saying, focus on people, focus on relationships, focus on your passions, focus on what you want, and then the money will come. So that's kind of how we built Tethrd. We did things that focused on the hunter, and it's worked.
Right.
Now we got like 40 employees, and it's freaking awesome. It's a cool thing.
No, it's amazing. Like, I sit here now and I'm like trying to think about, like, holy hell, like I've been now with you and Tethrd coming up to 5 years. Like, you know what I mean?
Since the beginning. Almost since the very beginning.
Almost since the very beginning. And, I could sit here and tell you, tell the audience, like, there's times where I remember driving home from the outdoor show and I just shoot you a message and just thank you. I'm not ashamed to say that, because like it's one of those things where I've always been very thankful for Tethrd and the saddle hunting idea and everything like that, because it all started when I met Taylor Chamberlain. He was at the guy.
He's one of my favorites, man. He's one of my ride or dies. Like, he's one of the dudes that I could call Taylor at 2:00 in the morning and say, show up at this address, bring a shovel, and don't ask any questions. And he's like one of those guys.
Yeah. Like, I remember just meeting him at the outdoor show. He was working the First Light booth at the time. And I saw a bunch of his videos and really always thought he was like a funny ass dude. And, which he is. And I just remember going like, man, I'm a school teacher. I wanted something more efficient and everything along those lines. Tell me a little bit more. And he was just like, here, hit me up and let's chat. And then from there, it just snowballed. Like I said, I became obsessed. But like when you were building everything and how you wanted to make it easier for hunters and more fun, you just made it relatable that like, wow, we can do this, right? And I always laugh that when you have keyboard warriors, just like, when you release the version 1 of the Predator platform, maybe a couple of months later, version 2 comes out and everybody's like, what? Well, it's because we're evolving, right? Like things change. It's not because it's a money, like, I guess I've trained my mind or my situation of knowing that. And I don't know if it's because of knowing, being in, I guess you could kind of say, like, because I'm not behind the scenes, right? I'm not in those meetings that you were just mentioning and doing all that stuff. Like, yes, I work for Tethrd and I do things, and I love every aspect of that, but I'm not in those discussions, right? So I have trained my mind to look at it of like, well, they're just making it better for the next person. Like, you know what I mean? So I don't know, I always laugh when I see stuff like that. And now it's like, it goes to anything, right? Non-hunting related. If something comes out and a next version comes out better, it is what it is. It's not because it's a profit thing along those lines, but it's fascinating to see where you're at now. And I think of what you were saying earlier, there's maybe values, and maybe talk about that with Tethrd that you refuse to compromise on, because I think that's a key aspect to discuss.
I agree. I think it's well, first of all, profit and money is not anywhere mentioned when we talk about core values at Tethrd. It's all about people. It's like we actually have core values that we've built over the last year, really. We've got 5 of them, and I'm not going to be able to remember all 5 of them, but essentially it's like one of them is bleed orange, and that's something that we say about certain people. Like, Jeremy, you bleed orange. You have bled orange for 5 years. Like, there's a bunch of people that work for Tethrd that bleed orange, and it's like, it's because they believe in the mission. It's not because they believe in Greg or because they believe in webbing and Amsteel. It's because they believe in making hunters lighter, faster, more efficient, more deadly. Like, that's bleeding orange. And we have stuff like, smiling is my favorite. That line from, that's how dorky we are at Tethrd. We took that line from Elf where he says, smiling's my favorite. And we made that a core value. Because I way rather would work with somebody that has a good attitude and is always positive, even if they're not the best and brightest and the smartest or the most talented. Like, man, attitude goes a long way. You're a coach. You know that. Like, I played sports growing up, like all of them, basketball, football, baseball, all of them. And every coach on the planet has said that. Give me a coachable kid with a good attitude over the most talented person in the world. I'll take that guy every day. Right? And then every now and again you have somebody that has a good coachable attitude and they're talented, and then those guys end up being like Michael Jordan, right? Like, those are the guys that really make it. But yeah, so that's one of our core values. Smiling is my favorite. Like just have a good attitude, just be positive, and that's 80% of the damn solution. Like, in the Army, we used to say like 80, it was like, I forget the number, but it was like 90% of being a good soldier is being on time and in the right uniform. Like, if you can just show up on time and have the right stuff, like, we'll get you the rest of the way. Like, and it's kind of, that's one of the things that we talk about. And we have like core values like adapt and overcome, which is important in a startup because you encounter so many different things that you have to figure out how to do. Like, we had to figure out international supply chains. Tethrd is 7 years old, 8 years old, 7 or 8. We started in 2018. I ain't real good at math. However many years that is from 2018 to 2025, that's how old we are. We went from nothing to we have international supply chains in like 5 countries. Like, come on. We had to figure that out. That's like adapt and overcome. I don't want to make this about Tethrd too much, about core values and stuff. Nobody really cares. To answer your question, those are the things that matter in the long run, is working with people and trying to value purpose over profit and people over profit. And I think that we've done a really good job at Tethrd of keeping our purpose in focus. And our purpose is make hunters have more fun. And we do that by making your gear better.
100%.
That's what we believe in.
I want to ask you this one, and the team around you, like you mentioned earlier, and everybody at Tethrd, what have over the last like couple years working with people just as a team and having that mission, what's that taught you? Like just have like what has like just being collectively with people on a team, with that mission and believing in that mission, like what has that taught you? Like if you could think of like think of your son and your daughter, and think about like if they're going on their internship, right? And they in the next couple of years, and they're going to be working with individuals. What has just running that like with the team and trusting those people, right? What are some of those things that you could be like, okay, be prepared for this, or this is what I've learned, and you tell them this.
Man, team is everything. It's everything. Unless you are really lucky, and I use the word lucky intentionally because nobody gets to choose who their parents are, what country they're born in, what skills you have, like what God made you with. Like some people are good communicators, others are terrible. Some are good athletes, others are terrible. Like you don't get to pick, right? So unless you're really, really lucky that you're born into a family with money, who can afford to get you like the best education and then give you money to help things, and then you're also smart, you're born with above average intelligence, and then you're also born with above average like the ability to see a problem and know how to craft a plan to get there. Like there aren't very many people that are born with all of that. Like we're just not. Most of us aren't. Most of us are good at a couple of things, probably it. Every now and again you get like an Elon Musk that's like crazy good at lots of stuff, and those people are just rare, right? It just doesn't happen. For the rest of us who aren't that talented and who aren't that lucky and who aren't born with all the financial advantages and all that stuff, you got to learn to leverage your team. You got to learn what you're good at. And it's taken me, I turned 44 in a couple of weeks on the 26th. As we record this, it's June the 11th. And here in just a couple of weeks, I turned 44. It's taken me like 40 years to learn this. But the reason I was successful, I'll just talk about me. The reason I was successful is because I figured out what I was good at, which isn't very much. It's pretty narrow. And I just really leaned into that. Like Greg, I was pretty good on camera. Like I was able to communicate with the audience on camera for whatever reason. I never went to broadcasting school. I was just, you know what I mean? I was just kind of lucky that maybe that was just like one of my things. Like Michael Jordan can shoot and dunk. I could like talk to people on camera, whatever. It is what it is. That was one of my things. So I was good at that. And then I was good at helping. I am good at getting other people to see my vision. Like what I have in my head, I'm kind of good at like getting people to rally behind it. That was it. That's really all I'm good at. I'm good at two things. But what I did is I figured that out, and then I found other people that were good at other things, and then I gave them what they needed to succeed. So I guess that's for me. For other people, it would be different. Like if you had Carl or Ernie or Jared on this podcast, who were really important to the success of Tethrd, they would see it a different way because they don't have the same skills as me. Like right. Carl, he would talk about his sewing and his ability to solve a problem and engineering. That's his thing. So right, I think for me, you have to figure out what you're good at, whatever it is. It could be anything, and then go into that. Like learn about that, read books about how to get better at that, and then talk to people and who have done it before, who you admire or who you see in a place in life where you want to be. Talk to them, learn from them, and then act like them.
Yep.
Act as if. That's like right. That's fake it till you make it. There's lots of ways that you can frame that thing, but like you just kind of emulate those people who are right. good at what you want to do. So I think you have to know yourself to lead yourself. So the first thing you would have to do is what I'm telling my kids now is to figure out what you're good at. Like they're in college, like they're not good at the same things that I'm good at. They're just different, right? And so they have to figure out what you're good at, really focus on it, get good. Like try to become the best in the world at that. and then figure out how to get other people that are good at the stuff that you're not good at, and then help them.
Yeah, I love that. Well, Greg, I love that little discussion that we just had with that. And before we get off, real quick, some really great things are coming down the line from Tethrd and dropping soon. We have the Saber Saw coming out, which was an award-winning accessory at ATA this past year.
Yep, one best new product.
One best new product.
Accessory, whatever the one its category, whatever that category is.
Yeah. Carnivore is going to be releasing soon, which I still have to talk to Carl because I got to bust his chops because he always said he would never make a 2-panel, but I can't wait to see it. I haven't held one in my hands yet, but I'm excited because I'm anxious just to see how that one goes, which I know I'll buy anyway. And then anything else that we have that we know of, I can't remember. I'm having a brain fart.
Those are the two big ones. Carnivore and the Saber Saw.
Yeah, and then obviously the fast frame. So I plan on doing. Yep, I plan on doing a little summer conditioning program that I'm going to record and give people. So that's going to be like going out there rucking and using that piece and showing how that setup is on all that stuff. So look for that coming out. But Greg, man, like I said, I greatly appreciate you and everybody else over at Tethrd, and I appreciate your perspective of this about leadership, entrepreneurship, and creating the life that you want, right? Go be gritty and do hard things and don't be afraid to fail.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one aspect that I really have learned from you and a lot of individuals from Tethrd, and I'm very thankful for. Man, it's been way too long, and I'm glad we were able to catch up quick, and I'm so glad to know you're okay and from that little Mexican standoff that you had. So, man,
thank you, Dens, for letting me come on here. I'm looking at the timer. We've been recording for 8 minutes and 30 seconds, and I think I probably talked for 50 of those minutes. So
that's good.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to diarrhea of the mouth and get through some of these things that are important to me. I'm finding myself more and more passionate about kind of like exporting the things that I've learned over the past 8 years of running a successful business like Tethrd and trying to help other guys maybe just get a little spark of passion or ignite something in them that maybe will help them follow and chase their passions and dreams and whatever. So thanks for letting me ramble on for an hour basically about this. And I apologize to your listeners. I'm sorry I rambled.
No, man, it was great.
I get passionate and excited about these things, and I can't shut up when I'm that way. So thanks for giving me the opportunity to do that.
Anytime, man. Thanks everybody again for tuning in. Appreciate the support. Go check Greg out on obviously tethrd.com, but also G2 Outdoors. That you throw out a video every 2 years, but it's hey.
I'm gonna start. I've been saying I'm gonna start doing content again for the last 2 years, and I'm not talented enough to do it, but we'll see if I can ever get G2 Outdoors going again.
All right, everybody. Thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Antler Up. Awesome, Greg, man. Thank you so